Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as Manchester United are offered, sit down, a swap deal involving Raheem Sterling and Jadon Sancho. And if we don't like the look of Raheem Sterling, we can have Ben Chilwell. I mean, we were meant to be doing a video tonight about Ten Hag, Manchester United, the various issues that need solving, and is it time to panic? Well, we're not doing that. We'll talk about that later. But it's my time to panic as we move from time to panic to swap deal that I would say don't do it. Please don't do it. We've also got an update on Scott McTominay, who is happy to go to Napoli, and we have agreed a fee with them, but he is now sorting out a payout from Manchester United. Why do we have to pay off Scott McTominay? What kind of wizard, and when I say wizard, I mean super prat, is giving contracts out at Man United where if you leave, you get a payout from the club? I've never heard of it. Never heard of it. I understand it with Wan-Bissaka because he was taking a pay cut. How can McTominay be taking a pay cut from 60 grand a week? Madness. Absolute madness. Lots to get into. Would you swap Sterling for Sancho? We've got an active poll at the moment. 41% of you said yes. 59% of you are saying no. I suppose it's about how desperate you are to get rid of Sancho at the moment, I suppose there are levels to that question. It's coming in from Dimarzio, and he is saying that Manchester United have been offered Raheem Sterling and Ben Chilwell as part of a swap deal for Jadon Sancho. Obviously, Chelsea want Jadon Sancho. And look, at the end of the day, when it comes to Chelsea, I'd believe anything. You know, they are so chaotic, I suppose, aggressive, creative in the transfer window. They probably have offered us those players because what have they got to lose? Raheem Sterling's nearly 30, Jadon Sancho's 25. So I think he's actually 24. So for them, you get rid of an aging past it problem for a younger problem who might become good. So I can understand why Chelsea would offer it. We'll get into that. Got lots of other stuff to talk about as well. I do want to talk about what the show was going to be about around time to panic. Is it time to panic? I've seen Liverpool. We've got them next. A lot of people sort of coming to the defence of Ten Hag. I don't actually understand the point they're trying to make apart from stubbornness. I'm not Ten Hag out. I'm talking about the match yesterday and I haven't changed my opinion. He made a load of mistakes that concern me that he'll keep making them. You can't just sit there going, oh, Ten Hag in. Like, he bloody needs to learn from those mistakes. They were massive mistakes. Why are people not calling them out? We'll talk about that a bit as well. Before we get into all of that, though, I just must say, very, very fast and furious start. It'll get quicker, don't worry. But before we get into the show, we're sponsored by Surfshark on the show. I'm sure many of you know what Surfshark is. It's a VPN. We were doing on the watch along yesterday and somebody in India was saying, I'm on holiday in New Zealand. I can't get my VPN to work. Well, maybe you should try Surfshark, a leading service for protecting you online and your data and privacy. Spat a bit there. Securely safeguards private messages, photos, videos, and sensitive information, and it allows you to change your virtual location on platforms like Netflix for global content access. So effectively, if you are from India and you're on holiday in New Zealand and you want to make out that you're still in India, you can just change your location from New Zealand to Delhi or something like that, or New Delhi. On there, or if you're from the UK and you're in New York, you can change it back to London and it will think you're in London. That's how it works. Offer from Surfshark is fantastic. You get an alert on your personal data breach notifications. You also get antivirus. You can use it on multiple things at the same time. So you can use Surfshark on your phone and on your laptop under the same subscription. And the big thing is that you get 4 months free with the United Stand by using the code, which is the code normally says scan the QR code link in the description. We normally put the code on there. Don't know why we haven't put the code on there. Use code United Stand. That's the code, and it says it in the video description. But we normally put the code on there. I don't know why we're not doing that. Sack the ad man. But the code is United Stand, and you get an extra 4 months free, and you get a comprehensive digital protection package with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Check it out. You'll really enjoy it. Fantastic product from Surfshark. Thank you very much to Surfshark. Let's get into the show. Okay, from Surfshark to swap deal from the Sharks. Chelsea are definitely the Sharks of the transfer window. They should have that theme tune. Dun, 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 dun. Chelsea are coming to bite your leg off with another crap deal. Look, it would be a good deal for Chelsea. We're talking swap deal, Raheem Sterling for Jadon Sancho. Coming in from Dimarzio. I don't... look, Dimarzio is very good on Italian stuff. I don't know what his angle is here. But actually, I would not be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea did. I do need to clean my glasses, actually. I can't see well out of my left eye. I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea did want to offer us Raheem Sterling for Jadon Sancho. Because, first of all, let's have a look at the viability of the deal. Do Chelsea want Raheem Sterling out? Yes. Have they got 5 days to get that deal done? Yes. Do they like Jadon Sancho? Yes. Would they offer a swap deal for Raheem Sterling and Jadon Sancho? Of course they bloody well would. Of course they would. I've got no doubt that Chelsea would swap Sterling for Sancho. Of course they would. He's 5 years older. Cash value, I would say Sancho's worth more than Sterling. Maybe they're the same, maybe they're not. But, you know, as a straight swap, of course Chelsea would do that because they're around the same value. And he's 5 years older, Sterling. So Sancho would be 5 years younger. So they'll see the value there. Wages-wise, Sterling's on more than Sancho, 300k, 250k. So, of course, Chelsea would want to do it. Of course they would. I don't see why they wouldn't want to do it. But why would Man United want to do this deal? Yes, we want to get rid of Jadon Sancho, but I don't want Raheem Sterling. Because even if I wanted Raheem Sterling, my big feeling around this would be that Manchester United are desperate to get rid of Jadon Sancho, but I'm not that desperate. My issue with Raheem Sterling is, somebody just said, what about Ben Chilwell, Mark? I'll tell you why I wouldn't want Ben Chilwell. I put it in a group chat earlier on. Might be some people watching who saw it. I don't want Ben Chilwell because he is 25% more injury prone than Luke Shaw and 25% less the player of Luke Shaw. So make that work. A player that gets more injured than Shaw and isn't as good as Shaw. The only thing that they have in common is they're British. I don't want Ben Chilwell. That is just desperate. And we can't do desperate deals anymore. Let Desperate Dan do desperate deals. I'm not doing desperate deals anymore. We don't need Weghorst on loan or Ighalo. You know, we don't need Reguilon. We don't need desperate deals anymore. Ben Chilwell gets injured more than Shaw and is not as good as Shaw. What's the bloody point? And I tell you what, anybody who thinks, well, I'll take the risk. As an England person, or English, the amount of times we have major tournaments for England or international meetups and Shaw and Chilwell are injured at the same time is incredible. So not only that, they seem to have some sort of synergy to injury to be injured at the same time. No, absolutely not. It's a massive red flag. Ben Jacobs has just put out an update on Chelsea, by the way. Chelsea are prepared to make Osman their top earner. Their priority is a striker, with Victor Osman not ruled out. With regards to Jadon Sancho, not an easy deal to get done. Sancho would have to significantly drop his wage. Early stages at this point, as Chelsea discuss internally. Chelsea keeping all options open, but priority is a striker and multiple exits. So Jadon Sancho is very much part of Chelsea's conversations. Difficult deal to do. Difficult deal for Juventus to do. Look, I suppose the question I was trying to say, and it's very hard to do it in a poll, 60% of you would not do this swap deal for Sterling. 40% of you would. I sort of agree that it's quite close, but most wouldn't do it. But if I said to you, it's keep Sancho or it's do this deal, does that change your mind? Like it's literally this or nothing. It's swap him for Sterling or he stays. I sort of get that argument that keeping Sancho and the problems that he has and the fact that he doesn't respect Manchester United, he hasn't even got us in his fucking socials anymore. And, you know, he throws his toys out the pram when he's not in the matchday squad. Sancho's problematic. So some people might say, I want rid of him at all costs. So if we're swapping him for Sterling with a point to prove, I'll do it. I sort of understand that. But it could be out of the fire and into the frying pan because Raheem Sterling is a childhood Manchester United fan. But Raheem Sterling a week ago did exactly what I don't want at Man United. His camp put a statement out to the press. No way. Forget about it. I'm sure we've got players who've got those camps. We know we have. But I don't want to swap Sancho for a player that's putting statements out from his camp. No, I don't need the ego. It's not the eagle. The ego has landed if we bring another player in like that. So for me, I'd rather let Sancho go on a free transfer than take Raheem Sterling, to be honest with you, because I don't want to be saying I told you so in 6 months' time when, you know, and also the thing people won't be thinking about when they say, well, I'd rather have Sterling than Sancho is, you're completely forgetting, what would he do at United? He doesn't want to be a bench warmer. That's the whole problem why he's fell out with Chelsea. He wants to play. He wants to play, and that's why he wants to leave Chelsea. What happens to Garnacho? What happens to Ahmad if you bring Sterling in? Because Rashford already doesn't get dropped. It could get, well, you could have Rashford on the left and Sterling on the right, and Ahmad and Garnacho getting no game time. So for me, it's a no, and I understand why Chelsea want to do it, but won't go anywhere near it. At some point, we've all got to collectively say, Manchester United, we're not about this anymore. We're trying to build something different. We're not doing this sort of thing anymore. This is definitely a Glazer type of deal. And also as well, at what point do we stop being Chelsea's dustbin? At what point do Chelsea stop ringing up and saying, do you want this shit? Oh, yeah, we'll take it. Yeah, no, absolutely not. And imagine if it went wrong. Imagine if Sancho went to Chelsea and did really, really well and Sterling did really, really bad. We would look absolutely stupid. And that, for me, is why Chelsea can offer this deal up. And I get it. I understand it. I even respect the balls to do it. I understand why Chelsea want to do it. But I'll be stunned to the point that there's no way they'll do it. There's no way Ineos will do this. No way. It doesn't stand for what they're trying to do. And also, Sterling's on 300k a week. We don't want to pay people more than 200k a week anymore. We won't do this. We won't do this. Wash our hands of it. Walk away. And Chilwell, for a different reason, absolutely not as well. Nerb says, watching the other top 6 favourites is genuinely worrying. They're playing better, trained football. Can we make it to top 4? We're going to talk about this in a moment, Nerb, because that's what the show was going to be about. Is it time to panic? But obviously we've got this breaking news to talk in these last few days of the transfer window. Swap Rashford for Cole Palmer, says Paulson. I'll tell you what, if they want, well, that's never going to happen, is it? Anyone other than Sterling you would take, says Daryl. Look, if Chelsea want to offer us Cole Palmer, maybe Madueke, not just because he played well today, but because he can play off the right. One of their midfielders, Enzo Fernandez. I'd have took Conor Gallagher a couple of weeks ago. Lavia, I'll take him. Casido, I'll take him. Would I take one of their centre-backs? Probably don't need one of their centre-backs. Cucurella, I'd use him, plus cash. But they're not going to offer us that, are they? Swap Rashford for Cole Palmer. I've said that one, Paulson. Anyone, okay, would you do if they reduce their wages, says Dino? No, it's not just about the wages. I would take Colwell, actually. I would take Colwell. No, it's not just about his wages. For me, I think Sterling's a decent player. Begrudgingly, he played for 2 of our biggest rivals, Man City and Liverpool. He is a good player. But when you are putting statements out saying that Raheem Sterling's camp, I'm like, no, sorry, see you later. But you've not finished your food, I don't care, I'll go hungry, thanks. No, I'm not interested in that sort of stuff. No, we've had, and it might not be a problem, but we've had that problem for ages. I don't want that anymore. Eric Ten Hag, go to grab the bull by the horn or he'll be gone before he knows it, says Mariki. Ugarte and a good left back would be nice. We shouldn't take on Chelsea's rubbish. Mark, would you swap Sancho for Sterling and Chilwell, and do you think it's a possibility? Absolutely not, Mazimo. No. Just because you're getting 2 for 1, I don't care. Look, imagine you're married to Margot Robbie, right? Someone knocks on the door and says, do you want to swap Margot Robbie for Heather from EastEnders and Shirley? If you know, you know. 2 for 1. Now, if you've ever watched, Heather's dead anyway, but, when she was in her prime, she wasn't much either. Are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? Now, Jadon Sancho's not Margot Robbie. I'm not saying that, but in this case he is. And Sterling and Chilwell are Heather and Shirley. Absolutely not. No. Based on Radcliffe's philosophy, he said he wants to get the next Mbappe. They're neither, although good. Sell Sancho, yes, but get Ndoye good at Euros, says Sean. Sancho upset about game time, then goes to Chelsea, says Robert McCormack. And after this weekend, how confident are you for next week? We're going to talk about that, JR. He played for Liverpool, City and Chelsea. It's impossible, says Paddy. I would take them both and 25 million plus wages done, says Carl. Ineos won't go for it. I wouldn't worry about it. I think you're spot on, Thomas. And these stories, what are we now? Every other team rejects Bin. Let's just get the best, not the reject, says Ray. Realistically, Mark, are there any players that Chelsea have that may be out of favour that could do a job for us? Mudryk or Chalobah? I wouldn't go anywhere near Mudryk, AJ. Chalobah, I don't mind, but I don't think we need him anymore. I agree with Scott, shouldn't need a payoff, but after looking at Napoli's wage structure, he most likely is taking a significant wage reduction, says Anthony Francis. We'll talk about that. I'd rather Chalobah and Chukwuemeka for Sancho rather than the older players on big wages, says Rory C. United should not get Sterling, trust me, says Rub. A bad player who was at City and Liverpool? No, says United 2004. Christmas Scooby-Doo in the attic is crying, says Jude Forsyth. And Casper says Sancho for Chukwuemeka would be good. And evening, Mark. Hope Seb won this morning, 6-4. He did. Great game. And surely with Sancho and Palestri going, we will have to sign a winger. So Daly says that. And Atch, welcome to Members Club. Hell no, I do not want that little hobbit, says Paulson. Bit heightist, but we get the point. Profile like Sterling will be an issue for Garnacho and Ahmad. Good player, but we already have similar issues with Rashford, wages, game time and age, says SG. And evening, Mark, do you also hope that McTominay starts next weekend against Liverpool so he'll get a proper goodbye? He's gone, Gareth. Forget it. We should trade Sancho plus 20 million for Colwill and Cucurella, says Sahil. And I couldn't believe you said Seb was 7 the other day. I remember the streams on your phone in the car park after his birth, says Ben. Transfer news walking down the canal. Thank you for everything. The best community, Ben. Years fly, don't they? They really, really do. And Barney says, Sterling, a winger that can successfully run with the ball and has end product and better than 90% of our wingers, would rather Lavia or Madueke, says Barney. How about Sancho for Madueke? Never happening, but one could dream, says Andre. Look, you know what? In relation to Sancho, just reading some of your comments there, if Maresca got the best out of Sancho, having watched Chelsea's first 2 games of the season, and I'm not overhyping them today because they lost to Man City, didn't they? So I'm just saying their system is very patient passing. I think it would suit Jadon Sancho. Like, if they got the best out of Sancho, I think it could probably suit Sancho. So I can see why they're looking at him. Because he's not going to do it at United, is he? Anyway, let's move on. That's where we're at with that. Interesting story. I don't think United will do it. I just was interested to see whether any of you would do it. And 39% of you would, which is surprising. But, you know, it's all about opinion. Mark, I think it's high time we visit our wings. We need a prolific winger like Rodgers or Chiesa, plus a deal for Pedro won't be bad. I see Rodgers as a number 10 young star, to be honest with you. Chiesa, I don't think United are interested in. But, look, this transfer window is drawing to a close on Friday. Part of me is very happy about it. But it does take me back to the start of the window. We're 5 days away from being able to rank this window out of 10 definitively, by the way, which is quite exciting. Ugarte news says, Aziz, mate, I don't want to talk about Ugarte until it's here we go. And I don't think we're far away from a here we go, but I'm bored of it, you know. I'm bored of the Ugarte deal. And I think the thing that's probably holding up the Ugarte deal, and I think we can all pretty much figure it out now, is that we were never going to do Ugarte, here we go, until we got rid of somebody. And that's probably been the hold-up. I personally might be wrong about this, but my prediction is we will pay what PSG want. And if we pay what PSG want, then what have we been doing for 2 months? You can't say that this deal took 2 months to negotiate a fee that PSG never moved on. So let's see what we pay for Ugarte, because if we pay 60 million euros, whether it's got add-ons or not, we've paid what they wanted. And you can say what you like about Ineos, but they haven't actually really done badly in relation to the fees that they've paid. So I don't... Well, let's wait and see, but I don't think we've negotiated for 2 months to pay what PSG want. I think we've been trying to sell a player for 2 months, and we've just not been able to do it until now. I think it's becoming very clear that the Ugarte deal has been held up by our inability to sell a midfielder, much the same as the Mazraoui deal got held up by our inability to sell Wan-Bissaka. So I don't think we're going to get a here we go on Ugarte until we get a here we go on McTominay, which means we've got to sell to buy, which is what many people have predicted. Now, the twist with McTominay is coming in from Romano that, as we reported this afternoon, deal done between Man United and Napoli. Some people were concerned about personal terms, but Romano has already said in the past that McTominay has agreed to go to Napoli. So McTominay has agreed his wages and his deal with Napoli. We have agreed the sale with Napoli. The hold-up now is that McTominay needs to sort out his payoff from Manchester United. So it's yet another player that's going to be paid off. Now, McTominay's on about £60,000 a week. So presumably there is some element of pay cuts at Napoli where we've got to pay him off. Which again just shows you that even at £60,000 a week, McTominay was overpaid because he's not going to be earning that at Napoli. So we're going to have this with every single player we try and sell. We can agree a deal with the selling club and the player can agree their wages with the buying club, but we still end up having to pay them off. And it holds deals up. It held up the Wan-Bissaka deal as well. But I think when McTominay is gone, Ugarte comes in. And to be honest with you, does it really matter? We might get to talk about it in a few minutes' time. But even if Ugarte was done yesterday, he wouldn't start against Liverpool because we know what Ten Hag does with the problem solvers. He sticks them on the bench and uses the problem until the problem makes another mistake. So I'm past like that. You know, for me, it's one of the problems with Ten Hag. Like, he has this weird thing where he buys the solution and picks the problem. So I think even if Ugarte was match fit for Liverpool, he wouldn't be starting the game anyway. We've got to run his data through the computer and Casemiro's doing a good job and we'll have to wait for another fuck up before we bring him in anyway. So it'd be nice to have Ugarte on the bench against Liverpool next week, and I think that's a possibility. But I don't. He's just definitely not going to start against Liverpool, is he? Kane says, I'm excited about McTominay, but I worry that we are about to go into the season without a good creative midfielder. Someone like De Jong or anyone else, honestly, says Kahinda. The only thing about Sterling I've been dealing with in the last 3 days is pound sterling while buying my foreign exchange, and I hope it remains it that way. Don't want him at United, says Mojo, who's coming over for the Liverpool game. Hope you're very excited. Barney says, I've watched a part of every game this week, and every team has something we don't. Players who can run with the ball out wide and through the middle. And swap Sancho for Dwight McNeil, says Eduardo. Everton definitely can't afford Jadon Sancho. I would swap Rashford and Sancho for Palmer, says the RCB bro. And Mark, we need to be harder on Ten Hag. 2 years and he hasn't gotten it while new managers already have. I don't always agree with that, mate. I'd love to know what other managers you're talking about because there's definitely context. We will get a here we go for McTominay. Will we get a here we go for McTominay? Says, I don't really care if we get any here we go. I've done the video. I'm not doing another one. He's had it. He's gone in my head. Mark, I think it's high time we visit our wings. We need a prolific winger. We've done that one. Okay, let me get into the crux of the show now because the show tonight was actually going to be time to panic, ? I mean, and sort of throw it out to everybody like we do on a Sunday night show. Liverpool next week, 2 games gone. Lots of fallout from yesterday. Beat Fulham. My 2 pennies worth to kick it off is I feel like United is a bit of a moral crusade at the moment. I think that there are, or remove the word moral, crusade. It's almost a battle to have your voice heard because there are people shouting Ten Hag out and then there are people shouting, don't say Ten Hag out, stay calm, everything's fine, XG, second game of the season, let's not panic. And the question is, who's right and who's wrong? Because the truth is probably somewhere in between. My interpretation, personally, I'm not sitting on the fence with this. I fought very hard for this manager. You know I did. 100%. 100%. But I also said through the summer, you're going to see a very different approach from me this season. I fought for the managers to stay because I believe he should stay. But when you go to war, not in a literal sense, but when you go to when you fight for something, you throw everything at it. You fight for it because you believe in it. And then when you win because you believe in it, that thing that you fought for has to, show that you were right. It has to verify your, passion and fight. And when it lets you down, I think you're worse than the people that were fighting on the other side because you're like, hold on a minute. I went to war for you to stay at this fucking football club and you're doing stuff like this. what you're doing. That doesn't mean you're Ten Hag out. That just means you're disappointed that already he's starting to make mistakes that you would never have accepted. So I don't really get the whole, I don't get the Ten Hag out movement, really. I don't really get it at the start of the season. I think it has to be legacy from the people who wanted him out, and I do get that. But what I don't get is the Ten Hag inners who are telling everybody else that their shit don't smell. Oh, look at all these people moaning. Just stay calm. Stay calm. It's the players. It's not the manager. It's only the second game. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. If you're in bed at night and you smell smoke and you go downstairs and somebody has left a candle burning and it starts a fire, the next day, do you speak to everyone in the house and find out who did it and say, look, okay, it's never happened before. You could have killed us all. Or do you ignore it and go, stay calm? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, there is definitely something from yesterday that was starting a fire. And it was definitely hazardous. And to just go, stay calm, it's only the second game of the season. You got people throwing out XG graphs. Apparently we're second in the league for XG. I've never given a toss about XG. F you. I don't care about XG. What's that got to do? I've watched both games. We lost one and we won one. We should have beat Fulham and we did. We didn't really deserve to beat Brighton. So what does XG do? Oh, XG's... Yeah, but what's that got to do with the price of bread? Shove your technical stats right up your arse. I watched the game yesterday. We could have won the game. We could have drawn the game. And we could have lost the game. Because effectively what we did in the second half was literally that. Roll the dice and see what happens. Watch Liverpool against Brentford today. There was no roll of the dice. Brentford did quite well, but Liverpool were 1-0 up and they got the second goal. Arsenal against Villa, okay, difficult game. Villa could have got a result there. Arsenal got the result because they were clinical. I think Arsenal against Villa was very similar to Brighton against Man United, but Arsenal are seasoned and take their chances and they concentrate at the back. Man United didn't take their chances and messed up at the back twice. That's why we lost the game. It's not about fine margins. It's not about XG. It's not about bad luck. We lost yesterday because we made bad mistakes. And as I said this morning, when you talk about, let's blame it on the players again. We've seen this movie. Of course the players are to blame. We know the players are to blame. But who picks the players? Like, there are people out there absolving Ten Hag of blame, saying it's not fair. It's only the second game. It's a pile-on. It's the players. It's the players' fault. It's not the manager's fault. It's the players' fault that they're not dealing with a cross. It's the players' fault that they're not marking the man on the back post. Who picks the players? McTominay was on the back post. Who subbed him on for Bruno? Ten Hag. Maguire was on the pitch. De Ligt was on the bench. Who made that decision? Yes, the players make the mistakes. What I'm trying to say is, if I'm the manager of Manchester City and I'm playing the final game of the Champions League final against Real Madrid, and I drop Erling Haaland and I put myself up front, and in the final minute, De Bruyne puts a perfect cross on my foot from 5 yards out, and I blast it on purpose into the thing because I'm a United fan and go, whoa. Whose fault's that? Well, it's my fault because I'm the manager and I've caused the damage. If Erling Haaland's there, they win the game. So yeah, always the players are the problem because the players, it's like a game of chess, isn't it? I was on about this afternoon. Of course, the pieces on the game are the problem, but who's controlling that? Who's making those decisions? But you don't have to be Ten Hag out. I actually think, speaking to a few people yesterday, myself included, I don't speak to myself, although this technically is. But what my point is, I spoke to a lot of people yesterday who are Ten Hag in, who were as angry as I was. The Ten Hag outers, they're just screaming Ten Hag out. They're not analysing really the multiple mistakes that were made, etc. They just want to be right. They want to be proved right. But most of the genuine, I think, frustration was coming from people who backed the manager and then felt let down yesterday. Confused. Stunned. Worried. felt like the manager was putting himself under pressure for no reason. And I'm certainly in that camp. Is it time to panic? No, I don't think it's time to panic. But I want to get into some of your comments. I don't think it's time to panic, but let me just set the scene a little bit as well. When you look at United at the moment, I saw a very interesting comment on Twitter today where somebody said, Xerxes was really unlucky. He can't get out of the way. It was a bit bad of Ten Hag to sort of point the finger at him. I don't think it was bad of Ten Hag to do that because I did the same on the stream. Initially, I was like, how has Xerxes done that? And then you watch it back. It's just frustration. It wasn't Xerxes' fault. But somebody said if Bruno had put the cross in correctly, it wouldn't have gone to Garnacho. It would have gone to Xerxes anyway. Now, is that an interesting take or not? A lot of people felt Bruno played badly yesterday. So is that a problem in the team? We all know Rashford's a problem in the team. We've spoken about it loads of times. We're carrying an average player or a below average player. Mainu, second season, looks very tired, only 19. Is that going to become a problem? Casemiro hasn't got the legs. Is that a problem? Left back is a problem. Dalot is not a solution at left back. That seems to have got forgotten in the game yesterday. We haven't got a left back. So there are a few problems in that team that there's more than one again. And it's not an injury crisis, but there's a lot of problems in that team, you know, from yesterday. There are signs of improvement. You got your XG, you got your press, you haven't got your high line. Can I just say as well, anybody who thinks we've been playing a high line with Maguire and Martinez needs to go to Specsavers. I'm watching Liverpool yesterday at home. Now, away from home, it's different. Against Ipswich, Liverpool's defence wasn't as high as it was against Brentford. But we were at home against Fulham, and apparently we were playing a high line because we were between the penalty box and the halfway line, right? In our own half. Liverpool's high line today was between the halfway line and the penalty box of Brentford. Not in our half, in the opposition's half. That's a high line. I mean, that's an extremely high line. That line's so high, it's bold. I mean, it's incredible. But look, I think there's a lot of problems for Ten Hag to solve. But I watched Liverpool today, and Brentford for about 20 minutes at 1-0 were getting close to knocking on the door. I felt Liverpool got the job done today. I think they were very efficient on both goals. They're clinical. But they're not quite running on all cylinders, which is what you would expect under a new manager. But they're well organised, they're not conceding. It's going to be a tough game, but we've got a chance. And what I would say is we can't lose that game. If we want to be serious this season, we've got to get something out of that game. And I think we can. But what I will say is, in relation to Liverpool, can I just remind you, we're not reacting to a Brighton loss where we picked our best team and we made every right decision. We're reacting to a Brighton loss, which I still say exclusively lands in the lap of a manager who, for me, made 5 footballing criminal mistakes. If he makes 3 of those against Liverpool, we'll get beat. Against Liverpool, he's got to pick the right team and make the right selections from the bench. And if he does that, we've got a chance. But if he makes 3 or 4 stupid team selections and stupid substitutions again, we will get beat. And that's my point. Is it time to panic? Not necessarily. Because if the manager had picked the right team yesterday and then made the right substitutions, we definitely would have won. Because we lost the game in stoppage time and he made 6 bad decisions. If he'd made 3, we probably would have got a draw, maybe even won it. So the lesson for Liverpool in the rest of the season is, if this manager starts making the right decisions, we're probably going to win a lot more games, aren't we? And somebody in the chat just said, well, what were these 6 decisions that he got wrong? De Ligt should have started over Maguire. And can I just say, to somebody who said it this morning on the comment section, that De Ligt maybe wasn't match fit. Right, I know this from the training ground, and we said it on the Wednesday before we played Fulham on the Friday. De Ligt had a better chance of starting against Fulham than Mazraoui because his fitness levels were ahead of Mazraoui. Mazraoui started against Fulham, De Ligt didn't. That was over a week ago. De Ligt's fitness is not a problem. This is Ten Hag doing what he did with Varane and doing what he did with Casemiro, where he buys a solution and he still picks the problem because the problem's doing okay at the moment. That's what happened there. So that was mistake 1. Mistake 2 was not starting Garnacho. Now, you can drop Ahmad or you can drop Rashford. I think, obviously, with hindsight, it should have been Rashford because he played badly yesterday, but Garnacho should have started. So that was mistake 2 in relation to the selections at the start of the game. Mistake 3 was playing with Mount and Bruno. That doesn't work. It didn't work against Fulham and it didn't work yesterday. You have to have a striker in the system. It just doesn't work. I watched Liverpool today. They've got a false 9 in Jota. Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes are not false 9s. I don't know why we're trying to use them as false 9s because they're not. They're number 10s. The clue is in the number. Bruno is a 10. Mason Mount is a 10. Jota is a 9. A number 9 is someone who is prolific and can score goals, but creates and knows how to occupy centre-backs physically. Mount and Bruno cannot occupy centre-backs physically, and they are not number 9s. So playing them both yesterday was a mistake, and it bit us in the arse in the second half. So that's 3 mistakes he made, in my opinion, at the start of the game. And then during the game, he should have took Maguire off at half-time, which would have changed our defensive line for the next 45 minutes, because we nearly conceded 2 goals in the first 20 minutes of the second half, where Maguire made mistakes on both. Welbeck header on the post, and Milner's past the line. Should have done that at half-time. Mount for Xerxes was the right substitution, but apparently it was because of injury. And the Bruno for McTominay substitution that cost us the game, in my opinion. Also, he should have been taking Mainu off because he was bloody knackered in the last 20 minutes. So how many mistakes is that? 6 or 7? Yeah, absolutely. So for me, he made 6 major mistakes. 3 before the game, 3 during the game. And we still only lost in stoppage time. So if you can get rid of that, that's why I'm not panicking. I'm just calling it how I think it is. I'm not panicked about our season. I think we're better than last season. I think we've got more reason to be optimistic this season. I just think Ten Hag piled. What Ten Hag did yesterday, as an analogy, is he went to the local farm, he sat in a bath, and he said, you know all that horse manure? Can you just pile it on top of me? And the farmer looked at him and went, why would you shower yourself in shit and put all that pressure on yourself? You'll stink. I just want to. And that's what it felt like yesterday. It just felt like he piled a load of pressure on himself that he just didn't need to do. And that worries me, because is he actually losing the plot? I don't think so. Is he suddenly a bad manager? I don't think so. So why is he doing it then? I don't know why he did that yesterday. And that's why I'm not worried, because I just think he surely won't do it again. This is a guy that 3 competitive games ago went toe-to-toe with Pep Guardiola and totally deserved to beat him. That can't just be Amrabat, because that's the only difference between the players he's got at the moment. If I had to choose... Oh, okay, let's go through some of your comments. Neil Curran says, if I had a choice to swap for Sterling or Chiesa, I'd go Chiesa. Oh, 100% Neil, yeah. Bayern Bumo, 25 years old, contract up 2026. Ahmad backup, says Sahil. Double D says, I want Ten Hag to stay, but that doesn't mean he can do no wrong. Couldn't understand some of the decisions yesterday. Admit your mistakes. Sometimes we need to point the finger at ourselves instead of others. I mean, I just feel like I want to applaud that on a Sunday night. I feel like I want to say hallelujah. Double D, I spent 5 minutes talking about it. He deserves the credit. That's it. That is absolutely it. In a sentence, Double D, I want Ten Hag to stay, but that doesn't mean he can't do any wrong. Couldn't understand some of the decisions yesterday. Admit your mistakes. Sometimes we need to point the finger at ourselves instead of others. This is it. And yet, I look around today and look, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. It's a collective. I've seen it all day. It's almost like a cause to just go, yeah, I'm behind Ten Hag. He's not done anything wrong. Everyone else who says it is just a flip head. They're toxic. They've got an agenda. They're just causing trouble. It's only the 2nd game of the season. And I feel like going, piss off, piss off. But then I'm also going piss off to the Ten Hag outers. I'm sort of on my own here. I'm sort of stuck in the middle because I'm like, I don't want to be with the Ten Hag outers because I think they're talking nonsense. But all these Ten Hag inners who just won't see anything wrong, you're talking nonsense as well. I want to be in the middle. I want to be in the middle on this. I want Ten Hag to stay. I want him to do well. But he made a catastrophic, bunch of mistakes yesterday. And why can't we call that out? Why does it have to be swept under the carpet of optimism and XG? Like, oh, it's only the second game. We're definitely better than last season. Hold on a minute. Brighton were winning anyway, and they hit the post, they hit the bar, and they had one cleared off the line. What game were you watching? Like, it's the criticism is fair because yesterday we should have won and we lost. And when I look at Villa, I know they lost to Arsenal. I wouldn't be worried if I was a Villa fan. Villa would beat us at the moment, 100%. I've watched both Villa's games. They would beat us. 100% Villa would beat us. And Villa won't win the league. Villa won't even be in the top 3, but they would beat us. So that's us in 5th at the moment. Chelsea would beat us at the moment based on today. That's us in 6th. Spurs, I don't know that Spurs would beat us, but they're playing better than us. Look, honest answer, at the moment, only 2 games have gone, but we're not in the top 6. In my opinion, we're not in the top 6. Newcastle, I'd fancy us against Newcastle. Newcastle probably fancy themselves against us, but look, I'm not being stupid. We haven't been rubbish in the first 2 games, but there's problems. Most of them solvable if the manager stops making the mistakes he made yesterday. But look, Villa are better than us at the moment. Liverpool are better than us at the moment. Arsenal and Man City are obviously better than us at the moment. We've got to put ourselves in the top 4. Somebody said at the start of the video, I've watched every team so far, and I'm a bit worried about us. And I suppose it's a fair point. It is only 2 games. You don't really know anything after 2 games, but we're meant to be pitching ourselves into the top 4. And at the moment, all right, it's only 2 games, but we're not there. We're not pitching ourselves there at the moment. I don't trust Ruud Mark. I don't see him who would play second fiddle to Ten Hag. Eric Ten Hag never took Bruno out, no matter how bad he did play. It's something that would come from an assistant. Abhijit, that is a conspiracy theory. That is a conspiracy theory. Don't start all that stuff. So you're saying that Ruud's told Ten Hag to take Bruno off because he wants to cause problems so that he gets sacked and he can have the job. Honestly, I think if Ruud van Nistelrooy ends up getting the Man United job, it would be quite problematic. I don't think it's something that... Look, he might end up getting the job, but if I was Sir Jim Radcliffe, that would not be my motivation for bringing Ruud van Nistelrooy into the club, because I just think people would see through that. Yeah. Mark, like you, I'm a pro Ten Hag, and like you, I'm totally bewildered by his refusal to learn from past mistakes. How long is reasonable to be patient? Look, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to start talking about if this happens and this happens, I'm Ten Hag out. I don't want to start doing that. But I must respect Solskjaer and I must respect Mourinho, and we must live in a real world. I would love to sit here and say he's got to get the season. He has to be given the season. And that's what I would like to see happen, because if he's given the season, it means it won't be a catastrophe. But it is season 3. Solskjaer went into season 3 and didn't see Christmas. Mourinho went into season 3 and didn't see Christmas. And at the start of those seasons, you never would have predicted that. It just went from bad to worse. I don't see that happening for Ten Hag. Even if Liverpool beat us next week, I think it would be a horrible international break, but he'd survive it. I think we'd come out of it, get a few wins, and he'll be fine. The pressure would go up, there's no doubt, but losing to Liverpool, and I hope it doesn't happen, won't be the nail in the coffin. It will just give certain media outlets and certain fans reason to moan. Realistically, we've got to be in the top 4 race, and he'll be all right. If he starts to drift away from that, I'd start to worry. And that can happen if you don't start picking up points. But the reason that happens is because you start losing games to teams you shouldn't lose to. You don't start dropping out of a top 4 race because you have a last-minute winner against Brighton and you lose to Liverpool. That won't knock you out the top 4. It will be drawing to Forest or getting beat by Fulham again or something like that. And that's what will cause him problems. So you've got to remember it's very early days. I'm not worried about that. And I don't understand why people have to make it about that, but I suppose that's the world we live in. Everyone's got a different opinion. Not every defeat means you've got to sack your manager, and not every victory means you're going to win the league. Like, maybe that comes with experience, maybe that just comes with persona, I don't know. But I'm here supporting my club, analysing every single game, and sometimes every single day. And therefore, you deal with what's in front of you. We beat Fulham. Some people were negative about that. I was like, opening day, good and bad. Most important thing was to win. You lose to Brighton consistently. You say, massively disappointed. We could have won it. We could have drawn it, but we've lost it because of the similar mistakes we made last season. And a lot of things were done wrong by the manager. That doesn't make me Ten Hag out. That just makes me massively disappointed and frustrated, which I think every fan has got a right to be. You've got to find solutions. And whether you've played the game, managed the game, you know, it's a long time between games. And if you don't analyse it and you just park it and don't think about it, then fair play. But you can't just go, it's only the second, in my opinion, you can't just go, stay calm. It's only the second game of the season. It's the player's fault, not the manager. Because I just think we've been there before. I think it's much deeper than that. I think it comes down to, this is season 3 and there's nowhere to hide. It's the last chance saloon. Whatever cliche you want, I think ultimately the banner for the season is Ten Hag has to deliver. It's season 3. It's the trilogy. Like, you've won Carabao Cup, Champions League promotion, crap season but won the FA Cup. Season 3 cannot be finishing 5th with nothing. You've got to deliver. And if you want to get top 4, then people are going to scrutinise mistakes when you lose to a team like Brighton away from home, because those are the sort of games you've got to win if you want to get top 4. Eric Ten Hag and the players are both responsible, says Patrick. Other top 6 teams show maturity and professionalism. Sometimes it feels like Eric Ten Hag isn't getting his message across to the players. Who is responsible for that? But you know what, Patrick? I mean, I'm not sympathetic, because I think we had more than enough to get a result yesterday. But this is why moving before the transfer window and getting in key targets is so important, because Casemiro yesterday was completely ill-disciplined at the end of the game. I'd have been disappointed with a point, but it's not a loss. And Casemiro does what he did loads of times last season. He's completely ill-disciplined. He's thinking about getting forward. He's the number 6. It's the last few minutes of the game. Experience should kick in. I'm the guy on the back post. I'm going to hang around here until I know that that ball is safe. And he doesn't. He gambles that Anthony's going to win a 50-50, which is the biggest mistake of your life. And then he leaves his role. That is massively frustrating. And some people would say, well, that's not Ten Hag's fault. It is and it isn't. Casemiro's indiscipline is well known over the last few months, and he cost us that game at the end. No more than Maguire cost us the game with the mistake in the first half. It just happened to be at the end. If Ugarte is playing there, does he do what Casemiro does? I don't think he does. And if he doesn't, he might lose the header against Pedro and he still scores. But he might not. He might win that header and then we get a draw. But we haven't got Ugarte. We've got Casemiro. And that's part of the problem as well. We can't ship out the players that we need to. We just spent the first 15 minutes talking about Jadon Sancho, who shouldn't even be here. So, yes, Ten Hag made a lot of mistakes yesterday. But also, it's not just Ten Hag. We are still massively hindered by this inability to move players out that we know need to go and shouldn't be on the pitch at that time because their concentration levels are not there. And that's why I'm not panicking. I think there's a lot to criticise about yesterday, but we are about to bring in somebody that won't be Casemiro, who might, in that last minute, be disciplined and think I'm going to do my job. I mean, look at De Ligt's face. Look at his face. He sort of turns around and goes, what the fuck is happening here? Like, as the cross goes over, he's not that concerned. And then he turns around and he goes, What the hell is going on here? Innovation says, stop blaming Casemiro. Well, who do you want to blame, mate? You know, let's have a grown-up conversation. Who do you want to blame for a player that is marking the back post and runs away? Who do you want to blame? I don't know. Who do you want to blame? Are you not blaming for Maguire for the first goal as well? Like, mate, we can have a grown-up conversation, or you can play Player FC. Whichever you want. I'm just analysing the game as it was. If it was De Ligt, I'd say the same. If it was Xerxes, I'd say the same. I'd be bloody stunned if it was De Ligt, to be honest with you, because he wouldn't do it. But there we go. It wasn't the left back, because the left back was marking the front post, because that's how we'd set up for the corner. If you're, I initially thought, where's Delo? But if you actually know how to analyse a game of football, we were marking different areas for the corner, because that's how our set piece coach had made. Just because the cross goes to the left back position, you've got to watch a game of football and analyse where everybody's position was for the corner, because the left back isn't always in the left back position. Delo was marking the other corner and Casemiro was marking the front post, and he deserts it. Analyse the game. We'd get slow starts under Sir Alex, but he was able to get the best out of our players, and it meant packing the midfield with defenders, says Kia. I think our best chance of beating Liverpool next week might be quite boring, by the way. I think we might need to pack the midfield again. We might see Mount and Bruno again. I think he's going to pack the midfield and counter with pace. So I think you'll see Rashford on the left, Ahmad on the right, Mount and Bruno, and he may well play Maguire for a deep line. I think he will absolutely try and counter Liverpool and play compact, packing out the midfield, because he won't have Ugarte. So I wouldn't expect a reinvention of the wheel. Look, we'll talk about it later in the week, but I think he'll play Mount and Bruno again, because I think he will try and swamp the midfield and stop our, Liverpool playing through us. Which, actually, what would you do? You know, we can criticise that, but what would you do? Talk about that in the week. When was the last time we won a game comfortably by 2 or 3 goals? We're always scrambling. It's been a long time, Chris, to be fair. Can you wish my dad, Wally, a happy birthday, says Jason. Happy birthday, Wally. We're in trouble. We can't see the top 4 unless something changes. I don't really care about the top 4, but a consistent style of play, says Muriaki. Sterling is proven and better than Sancho, says Gaz. I'm not going to panic about what happens after November, Mark. I have faith in him, says Alan Noonan. Look, honestly, this means nothing. But I feel the same as Alan. I think we will be fine. I think we will sort this out. I think there's going to be some short-term pain. But, you know, all those people who are shouting Ten Hag out, I think they will be silenced by late September, October. I think it will sort itself out. But the manager's got to make the right decisions, because it won't sort itself out if he keeps making the same decisions. Could the hold-up with McTominay potentially cause the Ugarte deal to fall through? No, Ray, I think it'll happen. I think the Ugarte deal's ready to go. I genuinely think the Ugarte deal is the same as Mazraoui and De Ligt. I think it's waiting on Wan-Bissaka, and I think this one's waiting on McTominay. In fact, I guarantee you it will happen ridiculously quick, from McTominay going to Ugarte coming in. In fact, it might do it like Wan-Bissaka, where Ugarte comes in and McTominay goes. The payoff is to do with his optional year at the end of his contract. The club and McTominay both have the option to extend for a year, hence the payoff, says Rashid. Thanks, mate. Hi, Mark. As much as we're building for the future, who's Bruno's understudy? It's got to be Mount, Kone. It's got to be Mount, unless we get someone from the youth system. Do you think De Ligt starts the next game, says Pant? Oh, what a question. I think he has to start the next game, because Maguire's mistake was so bad, and he had such a bad game. I was watching it back this morning, and I couldn't believe the Milner one, how slow he was, and I couldn't believe how he got beat in the air twice by Danny Welbeck, and that's where he's strong. So Maguire had a bad game, so I think De Ligt has to start. There's no logic not to start him, but I'm a bit pissed off about that, because throwing De Ligt in against Liverpool is wrong and unfair. He shouldn't be making his debut against Liverpool. He should have been playing against Brighton. But I think De Ligt has to start. But then again, with Ten Hag, you don't know. He might go with Maguire. Do you reckon Ineos removed something from Bruno's contract that now allowed him to be subbed? This is Glenn C. That is a conspiracy. Do you think benching De Ligt has anything to do with Rasmus's unavailability? This is Sean Kai. I don't know. I need more. Would it matter if Ruud stepped in? I thought we were building the foundation so that we're capable of replacing the manager without the shake-up, says Nick. A lot of people think it might happen. Hayden says, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. If he cannot own up and learn from his mistakes by picking the same players, then we should, as a community, should start asking questions. I agree, Hayden. I agree. And look, there's absolutely no part of me that thinks Ten Hag's going to get sacked or wants him to get sacked. But I'm very frustrated with his decisions yesterday. And I will keep calling them out. Because guess what? I can be critical of somebody that I don't want to get the sack. I want them to improve. I mean, I don't know whether you've ever been a manager, and I'm not talking about football, or you've ever worked at a place. Sometimes somebody you know is really good has a really bad day. You don't sack them. You tell them, and hopefully they don't do it again. As much as it was, I've done that one. The Ten Hag outers will next blame our forwards are not good enough. I'd give him to Christmas at least. Play the players, get some consistency, says Scott. And Eric Ten Hag is the most dynamic manager we've ever had. He will outclass Slot in the first half and give him, remember this, as vengeance. I hope you're right. Just before we go, I just wanted to say, by the way, we've completely missed this, and I guess we'll have to wait and see. But if Mason Mount is injured, let's be consistent here. Luke Shaw's had a lot of shit for being injured. What did we say at the start of the season? Mason Mount cannot get injured before October this season. If he is injured again, we've got a huge problem with Mason Mount. He cannot be injured. That cannot be a thing. Cannot be a thing. He cannot be playing 45 minutes for Man United in the second game and getting injured again. Like, he had 4 separate injuries last season. You're telling me after a game and a half he's injured again. Let's keep an eye on that, because if that is the case, we've got a big, big problem. He can't be getting injured again. If he is, otherwise we've bought a dud. I think Rasmus is paramount to play a high line, says Sean K. Oh, okay, I see what you mean there. Thank you very much. Right, brilliant show tonight. Really enjoyed it. I am expecting, here we goes. It is basically a Sunday tomorrow in the UK. People will be going, what's that all? It's called a bank holiday Monday. We get 3 or 4 a year where we get a Monday off. And we're off tomorrow in the UK. So everybody's off. So it's like another Sunday. But that doesn't mean we won't get a here we go. So I don't know whether it'll be tomorrow. It could be Tuesday. But I think we're very, very close. And as we know with this transfer window, oh, my hair's looking good. Oh, you know, sometimes when your hair's just, you go through it and you're like, yeah, it's got the right element of gel in it. It's got the right height. Yes, good. I've ruined it now. Yeah, as we know with this transfer window, there is a real battle going on with Ornstein and Romano. It's like Messi versus Ronaldo. You know, one wins a Ballon d'Or, the other wins a Ballon d'Or. The exclusives they've had this season, they are desperate for it. I feel that this is probably the last big signing of the summer. For Man United, certainly, maybe in the window. They are going to be desperate to drop this. Look, Ornstein dropped done deal. It wasn't here we go because McTominay's not signed yet. So we will get this when it's absolutely the first moment it can come out. And it could come out at any time. So just be ready for that. Yeah. Legends tonight, really enjoyed the chat. Loving the fact that there's so many different opinions. And as I said, is it time to panic? And there's a lot of things to call out. But I sort of find myself sat in the middle. I don't agree with the Ten Hag outers. But I don't agree with these moral crusaders saying it's only the second game. Stay calm. It's not Ten Hag's fault. I'm like, they're both quite irritating to me. I'm on an island in the middle. I don't know whether I've got anybody with me, but I'm like, I'm not Ten Hag out, but he was to blame for yesterday. You can be that. You can be that. And we must not, under any circumstances, swap Jadon Sancho for Raheem Sterling. Take care, everyone. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. I'll speak to you later.